fairies, changelings, kings, and queens. What does this all mean in our month read for December? Stay tuned and find out. Okay, so Cass, what did we read and who is it by?
We we read for our December pick Nectar of the Wicked by Ella Fields. It is a dark romantasy, definitely smutty romantasy, featuring fae and changelings.
Would
Um, what do we think? What do we
Oh my
think,
gosh.
Critic?
Okay. Okay. So, on Kindle, this was a Kindle Unlimited read. You can get this. It's part of a duet called the Dudley Divine Duet.
Deadly Divine, yep.
It is a dark fantasy romance. Okay. This is definitely a romantasy. Definitely smutty.
Oof, yes.
Okay. So we're gonna I don't think we should do a synopsis this time.
I agree. Let's
I
just jump
think
right into
I think people
it.
need to read this because there are a lot of contemporary stories that I think this does so much better.
I agree, 1,000%. I was so happy to hear that you. It sounds like you enjoyed this as much as, if not more, than I did. Which
Oh, I couldn't put it down. I was up
me
until
either.
3 o'clock in the morning before work. I had 3 hours of sleep to go into work. I was like, I really think I should stay home. And my husband was like, no, you cannot stay home because you stayed up
Read a
reading.
book,
Um,
right?
I think this is
Darn.
a better story. I know you haven't read the second one yet. I powered through the first one into the second one because both of them are on KU, people. Get them, read them. This is so much better than ACOTAR.
I agree.
And I
I
think it
agree.
handles trauma so much. I don't know how far you're into the second one yet.
I'm on chapter 3, I think. Yeah, like the middle of chapter 3.
I think the first and
So,
second book, instead of it having like the whole build up in the first book like ACOTAR did,
mhm, mhm,
it's a steady build,
mhm.
and the way trauma is dealt with through the whole both books. I was gonna say whole series, but it's not really a series. Um,
The duet.
through the duet is the trauma is just handled so much better, and I can't say any more about it because it's in the second one and you haven't read it.
I,
Guys, if you love ACOTAR, read this. It blows ACOTAR out of the way.
I agree.
This is
I agree, 1,000%. I think the female protagonist, I she's not some wild and crazy badass like Feyre is.
mm-hmm.
No, but she is a changeling, which,
Yes.
if you remember from lore, is a fae that is or yeah, a fae that replaces a human baby
Mm-hmm.
um, right
It's
after
been
childbirth or
swapped.
during childbirth. If they
Yeah.
swap, I'm not exactly sure the reason for it. I think it's just a folk tale, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, she is the fae that replaced this woman's child.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, she grew up in a very abusive household.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not loved. Definitely hidden away from the world. Kind of like a Cinderella story, a little bit,
A little
but
bit.
not
It's
really.
not really. Um,
There's a lot of different
there's depth to
fairy
this.
tales. There's a lot of depth to this. I adore this. It's super good.
Yes.
Uh,
This was a
I
surprising
couldn't put it down
find.
either. It
And
was.
I know you picked it last month at the end of our discussion. And believe it or not, I was going through when you asked me for my book request list for Christmas. I was going through it to make sure that because I purchase books, or I put books on my wish list when I don't have KU slots available. I'll put them on
Mhm.
there. So I went through and was basically ticking off everything that I had already either gotten or read. And
Mhm.
I found this book buried in my book wish
I knew you
list.
had it in there. Of
Uh,
course.
and I don't remember when I put it on there, but I'm I would put this on the shelf. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not
Oh,
into
I'm gonna.
book trophies. I know that's a thing. I'm not into book trophies, but this would be a book trophy if I had one.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
was so good. This was I know right now our high and lofty
Mhm.
series is the Brutes of Bristol Brook. Rebecca, we're
At least,
waiting.
yes, I know. We're
This is right
on
next
bated
to it.
breath.
This is
this is this is good. This is. I mean, obviously, this is a completely different story.
it is.
It's it's a fantasy for sure. Uh,
There were a couple of points where I was like, how did you not figure that out sooner? Or why are
I agree.
you only, dealing with it now kind of thing? But
Mhm.
we are talking about someone who has been very sheltered
Oh yes,
and
very
doesn't
naive. The
very, oh my
definition
gosh.
of naivete.
Yes. And but it's
But
done in a way that's not making me go, girl, shut up. Like it's not a cringeworthy naivete.
mm-mm. It's
It's
not. It's totally believable because you see it through her lens of how she's just kind of, she clings to any scrap of affection
mhm,
because of her trauma throughout her life.
right.
Um, so it is wholly believable how naive she is, and it does have my one of my least favorite tropes in it, but it's believable to the story in that she is a virgin.
Yeah.
um, but it makes
Yeah.
sense. It does make sense
But to
given
be
her
fair,
history.
apparently so is he.
Yeah,
And
apparently
I
so is he.
I
At
don't
least
know.
he alludes to it that that's the case.
Yeah, like he what I got from that was and I was joking with this about this with my husband. Um it was a more of a moral, or I'm sorry, oral is moral type stance with him, which anybody from the LDS church from like the 90s and the 80s know that was a thing. Like,
Yep.
you can't have
It still
sex,
kind of is a thing,
but
even though it's
it's like it's not something that a church elder would say,
no.
but it was one of those like campaigns to keep the youth from having premarital sex, oral is moral kind of thing.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
he falls into that because they get to a point where they're having conjugal visits, I guess. And she's like, you are, there's no way that you are also a virgin. And he was
mhm,
like, doesn't mean I haven't done things. I was very hedonistic, you know.
mhm,
It just that just never factored into it. And it just struck me as an oral is moral type of situation.
for
And I'm
sure.
glad that when I said that you were like, yes. Because
Thousand percent.
that's what it gave off.
Mhm,
Um our main male protagonist is not a saint. In fact, before this story takes place, he's described as hedonistic, not cold like he is now, very affable,
mhm,
and the life of a party. He would go and get high, he would go and drink. He had plenty of women seeking out his company, apparently without doing the deed, but like he was loved by everyone. And then tragedy struck. And
of course.
I as because I have finished it, I think one of the reasons that he did not push for that completion of a physical relationship before he met our main character was because of the example his parents had set.
Yeah.
Just as a trigger for everybody who is listening or is interested in this book, we highly recommend it. We'll get to our stars system at the end of this of this
Mhm.
episode. But I think, well, let me get back to the triggers. There are mates,
Yes.
there are heats,
Yes.
and
So
there
it's not egregious.
it's not egregious. It apparently happens only a couple of times until, and it only happens to
Hmm.
female fae when they reach a certain age. When that is like that's how they become an adult, is going through
Right.
their heat. And the heat only subsides after um finding their fated mate,
Hmm.
or it just wanes.
Oh, it
And
goes away after a while. Yeah.
yeah, like it only happens a couple of times. If it doesn't trigger a bond with someone, then it just dissipates, and it's not really a something that an older fairy or fae needs to deal with. And that
Hmm.
comes up in the second book. So those are the only things that are like not in like the traditional sense of fae, but it
No.
but it is a catalyst in this story for them actually cementing their relationship. He does There are some things that are very fae like in this
Mhm.
story. There are contracts. There are the use of words to get what you want but not give anything. There
Mhm.
are, like, the one thing that I was hoping for was that they would stick to were that Faye can't lie. And I guess it kind of does follow through the story. I mean, what do you think? Like, that's a common thing. Like, everybody says Faye can't lie. You just have to word your question correctly.
Mhm.
And I don't know. What do you think? Is that something they
I
stick
think
to?
I don't think he's ever lied to her. He definitely uh twists his words a little, especially in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Though I think she definitely listens and hears what she wants to hear in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. Um, I'm trying to keep spoilers behind closed
Yeah.
doors, but uh, I think for the most part, I don't know if they put as much emphasis on the whole not lying
Yeah.
thing as other books, other Fae centered books do. But I didn't get the sense that he was lying through his teeth. Um,
She does. She does quite a
she
bit.
she she does, and yeah, she does all the time.
Which
But
for
I don't know. I
for
don't
a
know changeling
fae,
more. They're
but
different.
I mean,
So
changelings are still fae. They're just
yeah.
brought to the human realm. Like it doesn't change the magic of what she is. And but she has, like, in lore, I'd have to tag in that lore doctorate lady that I find on Instagram a lot, because she would
Yes.
know. If you haven't seen her videos, like, she is hilarious. How she talks about how Santa is technically a god, and the elf on the shelf
Mhm.
is a fae that you should not have in your house.
Oh,
It's
okay.
good. Like, I it is good. She has some really good takes on things. Uh but a changeling is still fae. They're just not
Mhm.
they're born in the uh there's different names for the fairy realm.
Mhm.
But that she's born in the wild and she's brought into a human plane doesn't make her less fairy.
Mhm.
It just changes, like, how she was brought up. And that doesn't it doesn't factor into her, like, into her mannerisms as much. She still has the mentality of a human.
Mhm.
Like, she still has the qualms and the moral compass of a human. And
She is very human-like
yeah.
in this book. She is very so. I guess we could say this because she's naive. She doesn't know where her origins were really.
Mhm.
She just knows that the person that brought her up was a human woman that was not her mother.
Mhm.
she was told she was a changeling, um, and therefore everybody hated her, or she was made to be um, outcasted,
And
kind of
well, I
below.
mean, she still has the pointed ears, which are the big giveaway that she's
Yeah,
not human. But other than that, like she doesn't, because she only just came of age at the beginning of the book. She doesn't possess any magic. She doesn't,
right.
like, there's nothing outstanding about her except for who raised her. And
She is ripe for
oh,
someone who's going to take advantage of her
yeah,
for the plucking, and that is where the King Florian comes in, and he definitely takes advantage of her naivete.
yeah.
But it's not
It's not
necessarily
egregious.
a bad thing. You
Yeah.
get vibes in the when you read it first.
Hmm.
At least I did. You get, oh crap, what is this guy gonna do?
Yeah.
Yes, he's a hot and sexy fairy guy,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I knew right away something was up.
Well,
It's
and
not. This is not all. This is not all above board.
well, when I read the
So,
synopsis, the back of the
mhm,
books per se, I thought
mhm,
we were going to be introduced to a secondary male character.
mhm. We were though in the
In
towards the
the
end.
yes, towards the end. But I thought
Yeah.
like the king just scooped her up, placed her in the palace, and
Mhm.
then she like fell in love with a
They're
guard or something. Like just the way that the
right.
synopsis is written leaves a
Mhm.
lot to the imagination. And so like I'm towards the end and was like, "Holy shit, wait a minute. I thought there was going to be another dude in this that like
Yeah.
captures her heart." And because
Mhm.
Florian is very cold
Very.
through
It's very
most of
much
the book.
a emotionally. He's like definitely emotionally negligent. He's
Yes.
not. He doesn't have any. Everybody tells the protagonist that he has no heart,
Right.
or she
He
repeats
even
it in his head.
says, she
He even says so.
yeah, I have no heart. There you're not going to prevail upon my tender-heartedness because there is no heart to be tender. And
Hmm.
like his cold shoulder and his apathy is evident in the world around them. Like it's very clear as the story progresses that his feelings change because although he is the king of the winter court,
Hmm.
like they and a couple of the castle servants had even mentioned they hadn't seen an autumn because the winter court only has 2 seasons: the autumn
Hmm.
when things are allowed to bloom and grow, and then the absolute cold of winter. They
Hmm.
hadn't seen an autumn in 20 years, and things start changing, and the servants that there are very few that will even converse with her,
Hmm.
but they do mention like, well, it's not snowing today. In fact, it's starting to
Hmm.
thaw. And she's like, yeah, okay, isn't it supposed to? And they're just like, huh, you know nothing, Jon Snow.
Yeah, you know nothing. But he's very much a
He's an enigma.
actions. Yeah, his actions speak louder than words. He does things to show his love. He doesn't speak
Yeah.
his love until you get to the bedroom,
Oh,
where things turn
okay.
very dirty, very kinky, very fast.
I want to bring up the
Which,
text that you sent to me because I started this before you did, if I remember
yes,
correctly.
you did. Yeah.
And I had to tell you, oh my God, start this book now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Also,
I have two quotes that I have saved.
oh, really?
So yes. Well, I have more in my Kindle, but I wrote down a journal entry, two quotes. I was like, these are pretty good. These are a good little uh snippet of what to expect
You
when it
said,
comes to.
I think
Mhm.
we had been talking about something else. We were
Yeah.
talking about the holidays and when we were going to do our gift exchange, whether or not we were going to go to Christmas or do it at New Year's. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you says, also, dot, dot, dot. I really hope this king makes good on his promises. No vanilla AF shit. And I
Yep.
said, 100. I am disappointed in that because he does make a lot of promises in the very beginning of this book before she gets whisked away.
Yep.
It's pretty fucking vanilla.
Okay. All right. I disagree.
I mean, he eats a lot of puss though.
Yeah, he does. He does.
And I gotta give the man props for that because
it's definitely not as, because I know that both you and I, our mind went to a much darker place. But
I mean, it says dark romantic fantasy, okay?
It sure does.
And I was expecting some sirs. I was expecting some subs. I was expecting some maybe.
I think, okay. Can I make my argument?
Yes, you can make your argument.
I think it's a lot kinkier than you think it is. I think it's not like they're not like explicitly spelling out the roles.
Okay.
As you would in a contemporary romance.
Okay.
But
like
there's
claiming
some things that happen. Like yeah. There's things that happen that they do together. Like it's definitely a dom brat.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not
1000%.
discounting that, but I mean like she's bratting all over the place except for in bed. And when she gets in bed, she's just like, okay, do what you want.
Do what you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a brat until the sheets come down.
Maybe it's more of the same in the second one. So maybe that's disappointing. But I was just like, if you're a fan of dirty talk like me, this is some good
yes.
dirty talk.
Okay. But I don't consider dirty talk kink.
I do. I do.
I mean, it's a skill. It is definitely
it's a very good skill. Like I've heard really, 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 really bad, read really bad in the vein or in the guise of it being BDSM, and I'm like, this is not. But then I read something that's like, I guess edgy is what you would call it. I hate using that word, but I guess edgy.
The only time I want to hear the word edge is if somebody's being edged. Okay? And I will say this. She fucking edges him.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's spelled out for you. Like, it's not saying, well, this is happening right now, or I'm going to do this right now. It's like, oh, they're doing the thing. Okay. So I disagree. If you're looking for things that are spelled out for you, sure, maybe this is not BDSM, but it is like, this is a sprinkle.
I'll give this.
This is a sprinkle of it.
There were a couple of times. It only took me about, because I could not put the book down. It probably took me a total of 12 hours to read this, spread over 2 days. There were a couple of times where my husband was just like, we're laying in bed. He's playing his Magic the Gathering. We are listening to How I Met Your Mother. I'm reading. I now have a Kindle stand. So I'm laying there reading with my little clicker because it's cold.
Click.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep. Clicking it. And he's like, baby, I need your help with this. And I'm like, I'm reading. And he's like, I need you to open this card pack because that's my job. Playing his Magic the Gathering. That's how I help. Is I open up the card packs for him. And he's like, I need you to open. And I'm like, I'm reading right now.
You cannot interrupt me.
We're having dinner. I'm sitting here at my desk eating because we don't have a couch, guys. I hate to break it to you. My husband and I do not cuddle on the couch because we don't have a couch. Our apartment is way too small. We each have our gaming stations. And I'm sitting here eating my dinner, reading instead of watching whatever inane shit he's got on the television, which is right in front of me. And I'm just reading, and he's talking to me, and I can't hear him because I'm partially deaf, and secondly because I'm just zoned in.
Gross.
And he's like standing right in front of my desk, right in front of me, looking over the monitor, going, "Pay attention to me." What? He literally said that. I'm like, I'm reading right now. I don't think it will be a surprise when we come up to our ratings today what I give this book. I will say
Oh, 1,000%.
it is in a first person, wholly her point of view.
Yes.
If that's not something you're looking for, I mean, if you read ACOTAR, you're used to it at this point. This is
Mhm.
this is going to surpass everything that you thought you wanted
Mhm.
with ACOTAR. And I'm only saying that because one, I hate ACOTAR, and two, because because I am in so many Facebook groups now where everybody is discussing books,
Mhm.
and the the three book series that are constantly being brought up in a love or hate situation is ACOTAR, Crescent City, or no, not Crescent City, I'm sorry, Throne of Glass, and Fourth Wing. If you are looking for something like
So
that,
Jennifer Yaros or S.J. Moss, that's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Which is not like, which is a shame
there are so
because
many better things. And this, I think,
I agree.
tops the list for all of them. This is going to
Mhm.
give you the angst. This is going to give you the love story, the romance, the
The meaning,
lovers.
the love, like the first one, I would have to. I also didn't say, but the first one is very much like a slow burn too.
Oh my gosh, it is incredibly
Wait
slow.
to the very end, you're like, oh, when's shit gonna
But
happen?
you
But
know,
it's
it
like,
doesn't seem slow. Like the
no, it doesn't.
pacing is perfect. Like
The romance ends up being like slow, 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 and an explosion
right.
at the end.
And then of
So
course the
good
letdown, cuz they're, I mean,
for
we're going to
you.
no, 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 no. I meant in the
Oh,
romance.
in
So
this, so
it
yes,
builds,
yes, 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 yes.
it peaks, and then it
It peaks and then
immediately
down.
dives. Um,
Yes,
yeah.
but then it's resolved in the second one, which I'm only starting. So, but it's good.
And yes, I can't speak on it because I don't want to ruin
I
it
know
for you.
it's pretty. It has the same formula as a lot of these like fae romances. I
Hmm.
have to say, um, it's still one of the better ones I've read.
Oh
I'm not gonna
yeah.
lie. Like it ticked off all of the boxes. I could not put it down.
No.
Um,
No.
I
I powered through the
loved.
second one
Yeah,
because of how
yeah.
good the
I'm about
first one
to.
was.
Yeah.
I uh, I only finished it, I think, yesterday, and because it was so good, I'm already on my second book since, because like I'm looking for the next one that is
Hmm.
as good. Like it's like, you know how after we finished the second book of Bristol Brook, we were like,
Hmm.
we got to find the third one. Oh, let's order it now because it's due out in a month. and
Hmm.
and then we just kind of hit that plateau where like nothing was as good as the
I
Brutes.
know.
That
Yes.
is where I'm at right now, because
Hmm.
this series, this duet was so good that I am steaming through books trying to find something that takes that little itch, because
Yes,
that's what
it
it is.
scratches that
It's
itch.
an
Yeah.
itch, like it this
Hmm.
I mean, I like a good story in with my smut. I really do. It's the only
Yes, it's
reason
necessary.
it's the only reason I
It's
stick around.
necessary.
I'm not
We, yeah.
I do I there are instances where I just want some, pardon my French, dirty fucking, okay? You know what I'm talking about. I just want some
Yeah,
dirty fucking,
but
okay?
but that's a dime a dozen.
But
Like
that's not what I
there's so
want right
many.
now. That's not
No,
what I want right now. I want a
we
good
want
story.
sophisticated porn, you guys. Not-
We read our porn because we're fucking ladies. Um, and I'm always looking for a good plot, a good story, good writing, and this one just ticked so many of those boxes, which is why I'm not like, we're gonna mention it in every video that we're waiting for the third Bristol Brook book because it was
Mhm.
so good. This one is probably going to be right up there with it in the
Yeah,
I want to know what happens next, even though there's not going to be a next. Like,
I'm kind of sad there's only two, but if it's a full complete story, then I'm happy.
yeah.
Um, And I will definitely check out more from Ella Fields. She has quite a few different little either single
Mm-hmm.
story romances or more series out there. I know she has a couple out there. I looked
Yeah.
into it. I was like, ooh, I like her. I like the way she writes. I like her character development. Um, no, her people are not one note. I do like that there's side characters that do things
Yeah,
and
that are
are not
interesting.
that are
Like
interesting, have
like
their own motives, and
I will
yeah,
they're not so interesting that they grab the attention
off of the
unwarranted
two main
right.
characters. Yeah.
You know, I think that's one of the things that I did not like about ACOTAR is like there's so much and it was evident that there's another two books after the original three that
Mm-hmm.
focus on these ancillary characters.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that another book is going to come out about ancillary characters. You know, like it's enough to make you go, huh, what's going on with that? Huh, what's going on here? But not enough to make me go, okay, like whatever is going on in the main story is not interesting enough. I want to find out more about these other ones. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, with this one, when you finish the second book,
Mm-hmm.
I don't say this lightly. I do not like stories that continue on without the characters that I've fallen in love with. However, in this series, I really want that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't continue series normally that follow another set of characters within the same world. I just don't.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm a little too ADHD for that or what. I just can't do it. I can't do it because and if I do it, I have to spend quite a bit amount of time between those volumes. You know what I mean?
Understandable. Yeah.
Like I have to forget the original story and all the feelings I had. I can't just go from one to the next. So please believe me when I say I wish there was another book to pick up where this one ended. And I don't mind if it follows our main characters
Mm-hmm.
because they're just and you haven't met them yet, but it's just so good that I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, here we go. Where
Yes.
are we going? Where are we going?
I'm on this journey now.
Yes.
Please take me.
It just unfolds so beautifully. It's so well done. It's just so well done. Okay. Now that we have reached the halfway point, I'm going to pull up our questions. Okay, let me open up the Kindle because I know I have it on the Kindle. I should have it on sticky somewhere on one of my screens, is what I should do. Okay, so our standard questions. We're halfway through. Let's get through our standard questions and then let's get into the post show because I am so excited for the post show. If you guys are listening to this and you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, you can become a subscriber and listen to the post show. Right now, it's only available on Apple Podcasts. If you are a subscriber to our Discord channel, there are two tiers. Both tiers, I'm hoping I can make it work, will have access to the post shows. So please follow us, comment, share, subscribe. We are happy to have you in our conversations. We are still looking for co-hosts for our co-host pool. You do have to be comfortable to be on camera because we do a video podcast as well as an audio podcast, and we'd really like to have more voices in our discussions. So please join the Discord if you're interested and apply. There's an application there, and we can't wait to hear from you. So,
Yes, can't wait.
yes. Okay, so our questions. I should actually label these questions. Right now it's just in the Kindle Scribe as Notebook 3, and I should probably label it as something better. All right, so Cass, for
Mm.
Nectar of the Wicked, was that what
Yes.
we read? By
Yes.
Ella Fields. What is your overall rating for the story?
The story, I gave it 4.75 stars.
Oh my gosh. Which one has actually hit 5 for you?
Okay. Well, we can discuss this in the post show.
Oh yes. Oh yes, we're going to be
But
doing something really fun in the post show this time. I'm so excited.
the most recent one
Hmm.
that I gave a 5 stars was Welcome Home,
Okay.
by Maggie Fern.
Okay.
And then before that was Cute but Psycho. I know that wasn't part of our book club, but by Beatrix Hollow.
Mhm.
That one was a smut, and it was really good.
Okay.
um,
So
yeah. So anyway,
this one's got a 4.75. That's
the reason,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Go
it's
ahead. Go ahead.
high.
It's
It's high.
high.
I think I took a little bit of points off because I feel like I've read this story before. It's not wholly original in structure, but it is definitely original in depth of character and the male protagonist, antagonist, anti-hero, love interest. I like him. He's reminiscent of a couple different movie, like, anti-hero guys. Like, I feel like he's kind of a mixture of Loki
I knew you were going to
and
say that because I thought the same thing.
maybe even Kylo Ren. I know Barf say that, but I got that kind of vibe off of him too. I just like I when I read these, because I read a lot of fan fiction. I'm one of those hoes. Um, I always read a story of like, oh, this reminds me of this fan fiction. Oh, this reminds me of this. And I'm like, I wonder if this is what they had in mind when they made this character. And it kind of, I got those vibes. I'm not
Okay.
saying it was bad. I loved them, but I was like, it's not a wholly complete 5 stars for me. Um, I did get 5 out of 5 chili peppers, as well as 4 out of 5 um, water emojis. So,
Sploosh.
sploosh.
All right. I think I'm going to surprise the hell out of you. For
I think we
writing, for
are.
plot, for pacing, for plot, all that kind of stuff, I gave it
Mhm.
5 stars.
Oh my god, this is a first.
I know, from a first person point of view, I gave this 5 stars. But I mean, I think I gave Brutes 5 stars too,
I think you did. Yeah.
even though that was first person point of view. Okay,
Yes.
so next question.
Mm-hmm.
If there were any corrections, what would they be?
Oof. Um, you know, this is a fairly short story. Well, I guess relatively short compared to a lot of
I
romanticides that I've
mean,
read.
I think this one was
It's
actually
338 pages.
yeah,
Not too long.
this is like pretty standard for
Average.
us, if I'm
Yeah.
being fair.
It's a pretty fast for a romantasy. Maybe I've read a lot of romantasies lately that are just obnoxiously big. Like, they don't need to keep prattling on, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think there's not a whole lot of corrections in this. Maybe if I were to nitpick, I probably wouldn't have had her be a virgin
Yeah.
or like do all the weird tropey things. But it works.
Mm-hmm.
It works. Like, I can't say anything negative about it. It works for the story, other than, yes, there's going to be tropes in it.
Yeah.
What about you? Any corrections for yourself?
So, okay. I do have one, and it's a major one towards the end.
Mhm.
If the contract was what the contract became, why was so many people not being deferential? You know.
Uh,
So
oh, okay. Are you talking about the
the
do we?
marriage
This is any
contract.
spoiler?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
this
marriage
is spoiler
contract.
territory. They have a marriage contract that
Yes.
happens fairly big,
It's very
fairly
in the
early
very
on.
beginning, and it states
Yes.
that when they get married, these things happen. And we
Yes.
find out that that was not wholly the truth. Um, and some things come to light because of that. And if that was the case, she would have been in a different position socially from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we wouldn't have had Olin be such a dick, or
Right.
Fume. I think that was his name, Fume.
Fume. I read it as Fume.
Yeah, Fume. That's, I mean, English would have been
Fume? That would be
maybe,
weird.
but I mean, it could, it if that, whatever. It's a fantasy. Um, yeah, I think that should have been handled differently. That's the
Okay.
only correction that I have. You know, like, there should have been, again, there are consequences for entering deals with Faye, and I don't feel like that was really dealt with in this story. Like, there,
Or her
or
consequences were what happened
at the end.
um, at the end. Yeah.
But I mean, that still, like, if that contract had been what it turned out to be, then things should have been different. Like, him not acting upon what the basis of that contract was, there should have been consequences for him. Her
Agreed. Yeah.
not knowing what the contract actually said and doing some of the things that she did while she was there should have had consequences as well. You know, that's what I mean.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
That's just, that's why you don't get into agreements with Faye, is because there are always consequences and underhanded things that are slipped into those contracts. So that was one of the issues that I had. Okay, next question. What was a major plot hole for you?
Um.
If there was one for you.
Uh. Did it really? Did they really spell out like how the king fell out or found out about the contract?
Um,
If she was being kept secret throughout the other kingdom,
yeah.
how did he find out?
Yes, they did reveal that right before, that was part of the conversation she overheard.
Okay.
Uh was
I mean,
that
yeah,
a
yes, it
messenger
is.
had arrived, and
So he was just blabbing about it.
he
The
demanded her in return, and the reason why he demanded
Oh,
her in
was because
return.
of that. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I remember.
Yeah.
Why did he do that?
I even reading the second
That's
one,
a
I'm
plot
not,
hole. I'm sorry. Why did he do?
even reading the second one, I think the whole reason was to wound the other kingdom,
I
but
guess,
that
but
kind
that
of
seems
backfired.
extremely short-sighted.
Yeah. And I mean,
Given
this guy is a tactician, so even more so, that was like, what were you thinking?
he
Yeah.
wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I was like, okay, so this could have gone way. I mean, it went south
Very quickly.
uh, very quickly, but it could have been way worse.
Hmm.
He I don't know. I that's definitely a plot hole to me in my opinion because if he's a war tactician, if he um truly
He's
is
been
in
playing the
love,
long game the entire time.
he's been playing this long game, and then all of a sudden losing his mind.
Yeah.
No, it makes
Yeah.
no sense to
Yeah.
me. And why didn't he show up himself? Anyway, there's just a lot of things unanswered.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be answered in the next book, but I haven't read. I'm not that far into it yet, so.
So, major plot hole that I found was, if mates are so treasured,
Mm-hmm.
remember the whole reason this whole story started. Again, we're not going to tell you what it is because we want you to read this one. You need to read this one. But the
Mm-hmm.
whole reason this conflict started, okay? If mates are so treasured, and marriage contracts are ironclad. How did any of this happen? You
I
know,
don't know.
like there's got to be, and it'll this question will make sense if you read the story. As far as
Okay.
no, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to our listeners.
I
You
thought you
have.
meant in the second book. I was like, yeah.
I mean, it will become clearer in the second book, but not like it still doesn't answer this question. Uh,
Okay.
marriage the contract when they go to sign it, it is he explains that no, the only way out of a marriage contract is death or mutual agreement.
Mm-hmm.
She finds out later that that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Marriages are ironclad. There is no getting out of this, which also leads to her feeling even more duped at this point in the story. And she's listening to another story about how they had a wife and
Mm-hmm.
they found their mate. And in the end, this person lost both of them. I don't understand how this conflict started if such a importance is put on mates, on true
Mm-hmm.
mates, and on marriage contracts, on your spouse, which
Right.
makes me believe that the plot hole is our antagonist's mental state. Like that is just
Right.
not explained. It's not it's just not explained.
And it's not, if it's not explained in the next one, it won't be.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm assuming that's probably it. It has to be some sort of,
Which is why I'm like there should be a third book.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe Ella Fields will have a side story or ancillary story
Maybe
regarding or kind of going into details about their story, or I don't know. It would
something.
be cool
It
to
would be
see
cool.
that.
All right, our last question, unless you have a freebie question regarding the story. Um, romance, smut, or erotica?
Romance.
I agree. I agree. The story it's got a story. It's got a story and a reason for why things are being done. So I don't think it's a smut, and if it's not a smut, it sure as hell isn't an erotica.
Definitely not. No.
That, guys, was Nectar of the Wicked by Ella Fields. We enjoyed it so much that we did not give you a synopsis so you would go and read it. Oh
You
my
need to read it.
gosh, you need to read it. This is, I
It's
think,
good.
our. I mean, this is December. I think this is like in our top five books of the year of
Mm-hmm.
2024. Um, in the top five, it's not number one. Let's be real. Okay, it's not number one. That's Bruce. Okay.
Now, there is a book or book series that I read last year around the same time
Yeah.
that is very similar to this, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not going to say it's better or
Okay.
worse. It's very similar, called The Serpent and the Wings of Night. If
Okay.
you, it's pretty popular. If you have read those and loved them, then you're going to love this.
I think I've
Um,
actually read the first one. I'm not sure. It sounds
mhm,
familiar. There are a lot of serpents. Let's be real. There's a lot of serpent
for sure.
books. Let's try to get away from the biblical ecology or iconology. I'm
Iconography.
iconography. That's the word I was looking for. Uh people, let's try to get away from that.
Mhm.
Um all right. Do you want to pick the January book for the new year or shall I?
You should pick it.
I
It's
do
your
have
turn.
a couple of hard copies here that I pre-ordered back in like March
Okay,
or April that only came in I want to say in like November. So, we could go with one of those.
let's do
Um
it.
I'm trying to think of which one I actually want to go with. I think this one cuz it kind of goes on brand for us. So, our January read is going to be by Ruby Dixon, The Bull Moon Rising. And I got the
It's
pretty
pretty.
cover
Look
one.
at
It's
it. It
so
looks
pretty.
good.
Okay, so
Okay.
yeah, Ruby Dixon, Bull Moon Rising. I don't. I don't remember what this book is about. I'm going to read this to us real quick. I don't know if it's on KU. We'll look at that. As a holder's daughter, Aspeth Honoree knows the importance of magical artifacts, which is why it's a disaster that her father has gambled all theirs away. Now that her family is in danger of losing their hold and their heads if anyone finds out the truth, Aspeth decides to do something about it. She'll join the Royal Artifactual Guild and adventurers who explore ancient ruins, underground ruins, to retrieve the coveted arcane items. It's a great plan with one big problem. The guild won't let her train because she's a woman. Aspeth needs a chaperone of some kind. The best way to get around this problem? Marry someone who will let her become an apprentice. Who better than a surly guild member who requires a favor of his own? He's a minotaur. It's fine. Who is her teacher? Also fine. And he's about to go into rent. It's just where it gets tricky. He also has no idea she's a noble. Oops. And he'll want nothing to do with her if he discovers her real identity. So I'm not going to continue because that's enough. We do love a
Yes.
good Minotaur series.
Yes. How exciting. Okay. And it is not on KU.
It's not on KU. This book is, let's see, not do any afterwards stuff. 410 pages in this format. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, and look how pretty it is.
It is.
Under the dust
pretty gorgeous.
covers. Oh, and it's our theme. It's our colors, with the exception of the yellow. All right. Well, if that is the end of our episode for the year of 2024, then I would like to thank all of you who have been subscribing and listening to us since we started in February of 2024. Thank you guys. This has been a journey. We do appreciate every single one of you listening every month to all of our episodes, even listening to the podcast or listening on YouTube. We really do appreciate you guys hanging around. If you would like to chat with us, we are always on Discord. Please join it. If the link does not work in the description, because I found out even though I clicked forever usable, it only lasts for 7 days. I'm super frustrated about it. Please leave us a comment. I will send you a new link and you can join us on Discord. We are always available to chat and we'd love to chat about books.
Yes. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you guys standing by us. And we are looking forward to more book suggestions for 2025. Speaking of which, I have one. I don't know if you're going to like it. Actually, I have two, but I'm going to give you one.
Ooh,
it's one that I'm reading right now. It doesn't have great...
tease.
I'm sorry. One of them is Mafia, and I know you're not into that. Although it doesn't really have... Actually, you might like this one. It doesn't really have a whole lot of Mafia stuff in it. So I'm going to give you two, but the first one is